And our final speaker is Jeanette Jackson, CEO of Foresight, Canada's clean tech accelerator. Foresight works with others across Canada to identify, develop, and commercialize clean tech solutions. And as CEO, Ms. Jackson has led the organization through expanding accelerator programs, the Innovation Challenge program, launching a sectoral approach to clean tech innovation. And Ms. Jackson will speak today, bringing the discussion down to our regional level. And a call to action for all of us to engage on building a clean technology innovation ecosystem. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, can everyone hear me? A couple of things before I dive in, and I realized yesterday I'm missing a really key slide, so I might send you all a link to look up while we're chatting here. But two things I want to reinforce. One is climate change is the most highest risk, highest opportunity challenge that we will face in this generation and for generations to come. And two, even though we have a great funnel of amazing companies, all of which Foresight has connected or supported in some capacity, they are looking to build their companies outside of BC and Canada because we are not providing the right demand and the right infrastructure and policy for them to stay and scale here. So another thing I want to lean in on is my daughter is 16, and she said something very prolific to me. On Mother's Day, she said, "We're not killing the planet, we're killing ourselves." And I thought, wow, I mean, even for me who's in this role, I'm always thinking about the planet. And at the end of the day, I think all of us in this room can acknowledge that it's really more than that. The planet will survive without us. So our role at Foresight is to help position Canada as a global leader in clean tech innovation, and we'd like to see Canada be the first G7 country to reach net zero. We take a very integrated approach. So as mentioned, we run a series of accelerator programs across stages of ventures. It's supported by 200 global EIRs and mentors, and it's been very successful. We also, on the flip side, support the demand side. So we work with industry, municipalities and governments, associations, and other buyer groups to help source the solutions that can help them more quickly achieve those net zero results. This third pillar here is where I think it gets really interesting for everyone in the room. It's all around ecosystems. So how do we attract capital to scale and move this transition quickly? How do we acknowledge where we do have strong domestic demand versus where we do need to have a strong export strategy because it just makes sense? In BC alone, it's incredible to see how many technology companies are energy focused when, as highlighted, we have a great source of what most would call clean power, and yet the ventures want to live and breathe here, but they do need to have the right supports to export their solutions. And then ecosystem building. Ecosystem building is something that no one wants to fund, but is actually the key thing that brings the right stakeholders together to collaborate, pool resources, and really have impact. This is actually the main piece that allowed us to launch what we're calling the BC Net Zero Innovation Network. I see Chi Ting here, who's running the mining pillar of that. If you go to corecleantech.com, there's a really interesting ecosystem map there. And what it highlights is things like the need for talent, access to markets, capital, more importantly, networks or collaboration, technology validation, and policy. And those 6 things are really required to be at full scale and extremely interactive to scale an ecosystem that can drive this net zero transition. Our impact, again, it starts with the innovation community. So how can we help them scale and grow? So over 1,000 companies, lots of capital, exciting things. But what's almost more concerning is the challenges that they tell us, right? So they're here, they're wanting to grow, but industry and buyer isn't moving fast enough. There's just not enough incentive and push for them to stay and grow here. Clean tech is defined quite broadly, and one of the understated sectors is water, where a lot of people don't know that about 20% of energy goes into cleaning and moving fresh water, something that I think a lot of us take for granted. But of course, it's reduction of resources, so waste management, repurposing of waste streams and materials, supply chain innovation. And you can think about that across so many sectors, which is why we ended up taking our broad programming and breaking it down into these subsectors: agriculture, bioeconomy, built environment. It's really important to note, though, that each of these sectors has a really unique opportunity here in the province. So agriculture, for example, obviously, most of the growing is done in certain communities in the Lower Mainland and beyond, but we are consumers in the downtown cores. And so how you grow and produce and move all of that product, we have an opportunity to show how we can do that at net zero and beyond. Same thing with, I'm going to touch on mining, just because it's one of our new streams that's just launched. Obviously, mining isn't done in downtown Metro Vancouver areas, but all of the support systems, fabricators in Surrey, capital supports in all the buildings that are surrounding us today. These are integrated industries that are leaning on the core of our communities here to support the province and beyond. And so what can we do about it? So we consider ourselves at Foresight an activator. We run programs, we're not for profit, but we also, because of our position, hear a lot from these different stakeholder groups. So innovators are saying, talent is a struggle, but I think all sectors would say that talent's a struggle. Some may argue capital. I do fundamentally believe there's actually a lot of capital available if you can show that you have the right team, value prop, business model, competitive advantage to compete, and if the right policies are in place to attract that capital, which is where the investors chime in. If you want to be an economic engine for the net zero transition, you really need to make sure that you can attract things, whether it's venture tax credits, all these other fundamentals that are going to attract capital to our region. Industry. Some industry is more progressive than others. We know where a lot of these industry folks stand. If we can give them a nudge through concrete policy, I think there's a real opportunity to show international foreign direct investment, actually companies that might want to move here so that we're attracting the best companies to Canada to scale and grow. Policy plays a big role. Academia, we're seeing more and more collaboration between our academic partners who are saying, look, we want to understand what industry's needs are so that we can be more problem market and data driven. And I mean, in certain communities, we're seeing the academic institutions really engage with the local municipalities and governments trying to say, look, how can we provide education support to have local talent and local business plans and models so that we can keep growing this sector here. And then, of course, government, I'm going to say the dirty word procurement. We have a procurement problem in Canada across all levels of government. It's one of the biggest buyers of so many technology solutions. If we could just get that right, I think we would not only be able to achieve our net zero climate targets, but we'd be able to showcase what policies and structure we put in place to achieve that so that others can follow suit. So what we know is a big opportunity. I know my colleague had a $60 million trillion dollar infrastructure, see, million, trillion, billion. But it is $130+ trillion economic opportunity by 2050. There was a huge announcement of tons of funds that have pooled these resources together. And if we want to get that capital into Canada, into Metro Vancouver, we need to collaborate and we need to make it attractive. And there's clear things that can be done to get there. We need to be a community approach to global challenges. The challenges that we have here are not unique in all cases. Obviously, there's going to be some outliers, but there are opportunities for us. Built environment, transportation, water. Showcasing those strengths now positions us for leadership globally. We will attract the best and the brightest around the world to come and learn from us, and that will be recognized for years and years to come. Rural and urban engagement. Metro Vancouver, obviously a lot of the population in the province sits here, but so many contact points across the province rely on our activity. So we can definitely, as an urban collective, really help our rural colleagues accelerate their economic development activities. We need to be honest. What's the cost not to act? At what point are we going to say the cost not to act? Insurance costs. Abbotsford, we know what happened there with the flooding. Fires, they're getting closer and closer to areas where we never thought it was possible. I mean, these things are coming. And so let's work together and act today. Impact jobs. We always hear a lot about jobs, quality of life, investment attraction. It's a no-brainer. I mean, even for us, we've tracked over 7,500 jobs with, in a few short years of our operations. And then other regions are starting to move faster. Like, others are catching up and investing, and the governments are coming together and they're pooling resources and they're launching programs and support. Foresight's not the only player here. There's tons of other there's some really cool organizations that are doing some really great work. And so let's work together, get the right programs in place so we can mobilize. What this means, we're going to be able to capitalize on an opportunity that's greater than the Industrial Revolution. We're going to have local leadership really showcased globally. A lot of marketing communications, Invest Vancouver, Metro Vancouver, huge opportunity for that in collaboration with, of course, the local municipal governments. I want to ask everyone, where do you want to be? What do you want to be known for when you're sitting at your desk and thinking about climate change? You know, do you want to be writing that progressive policy? You know, taking a calculated risk, educating as many people as you can on this opportunity. I think, you know, everyone in the room here can make an incremental impact. So my ask for everyone is to think of one personal and one business thing that you can do as we, you know, navigate this challenge and hopefully continue to position the region as a leader. And collaboration is just greater for success. It's proven everywhere. You work alone, you get so far. You work together, the pie's bigger, and everyone wins. So let's work together, make a big pie, and hopefully eat the big piece that Simon had on his deck. So anyways, thank you, and we'll open to questions.